Good morning and welcome to the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2. I'm David Lovejoy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rhonda Lahnert.
And I'm Chuckalicious, Chuck Williams.
It's Wednesday, and every Wednesday we take a break from normal to get a little bit better. Jody Holland usually joins us with some great advice and great words. He's out and about today. He's up in Canadian doing some training. So instead, we've got Miss Meghan Slaughter here from Jody Holland. She's a communication strategist for Jody, and just happy to have her here. Miss Slaughter, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out for us.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to be talking about how to influence people versus how to control them, because let's be real, nobody wants to be controlled. And if you don't want to be controlled, then your people probably don't want to be controlled. And so how we want to lead is through our influence. And we typically have this idea in our minds of this bubble of what we can control in life versus what we can influence, when in reality, our influence is much larger than what we can control. We can control what we think, how we behave, and how we act. We cannot control that of other people. And so when we are leading, we want to set our expectations and demonstrate them within the workplace so that our people can model our behaviors. And this influence is what's going to yield results. And it's going to help them create autonomy in the workplace and make them feel like they're making a difference and create this bigger sense of belonging, because what they're doing matters and they have control over themselves. And then you serve as this guide who has the final say. They can do what they need to do. They can, act within their own role, and then they can look to you for guidance when they need any extra assistance.
To me, it seems as though that there's very little difference between influence and control. I mean, if I can influence you to do things my way, well, hey, that's control to a point, is it not?
In a sense, it is, but the idea with influence is that you're getting someone to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Whereas when you're controlling someone, you're telling them this is what you're going to do. You don't have a choice in the matter, and you'll do as I say. And so that's more of enforcing rules and giving out orders, versus when you're influencing someone, you bring them into the conversation and you make them think that something is their idea. And so they get on board because they want to, not just because they have to.
Well, there is that fine line, and I would think as a leader, you might need to do a little bit of self-reflection and maybe kind of understand what your motives are. Maybe if you are thinking, more along the lines of control, how are some ways that we can know as leaders that we're trying to control versus just, doing the right thing and influence people?
Absolutely. So the best leaders are able to self-lead, and they have control over their own emotions and their actions. And they're able to reflect on themselves at the end of the day and think forward to, what do I want out of my people and why do I want that? So when you're influencing someone, it comes back down to your core values and the mission of the organization. You're not leading through selfish reasons. You're leading because you're guiding someone toward a common goal, and you want everyone to feel a sense of pride in what they do. And so if you find yourself micromanaging others, a lot of that boils down to a lack of trust with your team. And you have to really think about, why do I not trust them? Is it because I have control issues? Is it because I don't feel like they're prepared enough? And so maybe you come in and you provide some more training and development. And then you take a step back and you say, okay, I'm going to let my people do this project on their own, and I will check in on them periodically. But when you're micromanaging and checking on them every 5 minutes, it's not a good use of your time or your people's time, because they're having to stop what they're doing to explain where they're at on the project and where they're headed. Versus if you set specific checkpoints, you can say, okay, by this time, I expect you to get this done. Please let me know if you need any help. And then you set the expectations and you model those behaviors.
Megan, it seems like that one of the things and one of the traits of leadership, and sometimes it's missed by leaders, is self-sacrifice. You have to be able to sometimes supplant your own goals or needs or wishes for the bigger picture, the team goal, the team, the overall success of everybody, and not just your individual success. Can you train that into somebody? Can you train that self-sacrifice into a leader?
I think that can be learned, and leadership does come naturally to some people, but some people have to work really hard for it. And so you have to be intentional, and maybe that means you're journaling every day and talking about where you want to go moving forward. Or maybe you're seeking out a mentor yourself, and so you're learning from somebody else. But as a leader, I think it's important that you want to be a lifelong learner. You're continuously developing yourself. Maybe you're reading books, you're going to trainings, you're watching webinars online. Whatever it may be, you have to push yourself as a leader if you ever want your employees to push themselves. And so modeling those expectations is really crucial in any business, because people will look to you to gauge how they should react, what they should expect within the workplace, and how much effort they should give. But if you're the kind of leader that sits back and lets everyone else do all of the work, then people will start thinking, well, if they're not going to do this, then why should I be expected to do this? And so you want to just continuously develop yourself and help develop your own people.
When is the best time to do the influencer bit versus the control action? When is is there a stage that it's best to use one or the other?
Not necessarily. I think influence starts on day one. Now, you do have to set guidelines for your people and list out the rules and expectations when you hire them. So that might be a more on the side of control. But when they accept the job, they're accepting those expectations. And so when they don't meet your standards, then you have a conversation with them and you say, here's where I think you can improve. Here's how I think you can do it. And if we're not on the same page, then maybe we need to reassess this position. And so controlling someone, I think, does come down a little bit to disciplinary action when someone is falling behind. But you want to be able to influence people at all times. So even when you are having that conversation when they're falling short, you're still guiding them and influencing them, wanting them to want the best for themselves and for the company.
Well, when you're the leader and you have staff, within that staff are going to be certain influencers. And I'm sure it's quite important, and you could probably say a lot on how important it is to make sure that they are influencing in the right way. But if they're not, what steps should you take to maybe influence the influencer?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. There are natural leaders at all levels of an organization. And sometimes you have to pull them aside and kind of talk to them about, okay, a lot of people do listen to you and they look up to you. And I think it's important that you take that seriously. And so you have that conversation and you ask them how they can use their influence to help other people get on the right track. And I also think that sometimes it's really difficult to allow ourselves to be influenced by others. And so you have to be intentional about allowing that too, whether that's a friend in the organization that's influencing you or it's a top leader. But other times the choice is clear, and you have to leave your comfort zone, allowing someone to influence you.